You know, it wasn't until I contemplated making a documentary on the subject that I started to talk about it. I usually get asked a lot of questions, but today I'd like to ask you a question first. Do you think monogamy is the only way, or is there more than one way to live in love? My purpose is not to force you to adhere to my point of view. I don't expect everyone to agree with me or want what I want. But there's one thing I'd like from you. I'd like you to open your mind. When I talk about polygamy, I get a variety of responses, some negative, some positive, a lot negative. And to share my point of view, there are a few topics I'd like to touch on: history, family, adultery, threesomes, love, religion, marriage, and sexism. Now, even though most of us know that there are relationships that fall outside of what we call monogamy, it's difficult to discuss it without having the right vocabulary. Monogamy is a relationship in which an individual has only one spouse. My partner likes to call it monotony. He likes pun. Non-monogamy is an umbrella term for everything that isn't that. Polyamory translates to loving many people, and it's the practice of having more than one intimate relationship at a time with the consent of everyone involved. Polygamy is the term for having a dedicated relationship with more than one partner. When a woman is with more than one man, it's called polyandry, and when a man is with more than one woman, it's referred to as polygyny. But remember, as important as these definitions are, every relationship is like a snowflake, and each one is unique and different. So I should probably tell you a bit about the relationship structure I seek. Naturally, working in the film industry, I watch a lot of TV, and I'm sure you've all seen or at least heard of Big Love. That's not my style. I believe in modern, non-religious, bisexual polygamy, in which the women are as much in love with each other as they are with their man. Polygamy has existed all over the world and all throughout history. It also permeates the media in our Western society. Look at the love triangle in Twilight and the Vampire Diaries. However, monogamy is considered the norm. When challenged by historical information or scientific studies that suggest humans are, by nature, polygamous, some people staunchly reject the idea and cry, "But what about the nuclear family?" What nuclear family? Statistically, married male-female couples with children are in an ever-shrinking minority. There are many different types of family structures: single mothers with absent fathers, aunts and uncles acting as guardians. Even the perfect family, the Brady Bunch, was comprised of two divorcees with children who were married and then introduced another woman to live in their home. The white picket fence, 2.4 kids, and a dog illusion of the 50s has well and truly faded. All we can hope for is stability and support in a family unit. Monogamous relationships are frequently torn apart by adultery, which is common and widespread. I think that by denying nature, desire is sometimes displayed through destructive and secretive behaviours. Look at Tiger Woods, for example, who was in the media spotlight not so long ago for having multiple extramarital affairs. Or what about Bill Clinton? We all know where his cigars have been. The fact of the matter is that in Australia alone, approximately 1 in 3 marriages end in divorce. When it's clear that monogamy isn't working for everyone, why are we still so attached to it? Are you a boobs, ass, or legs man? Do you prefer blondes, brunettes, or redheads? I asked my partner and he cheekily replied, all three. And some people might say, you just want to have your cake and eat it too. But what is the purpose of cake if not to be eaten? Some men may jump at the idea of a ménage à trois, and while we hear that term thrown around as a euphemism for threesome, its literal translation is a domestic arrangement in which 3 intimately involved people occupy the same household. So, while a guy will get a high five from his mate for having sex with 2 women at the same time, it's considered unacceptable for him to love both of them, date both of them, be committed to both of them, or God forbid, marry both of them. But women can be demanding, right? Having one girlfriend or wife is hard enough, so having more requires more effort. In fact, sometimes my partner calls it polyagony. Yes, there may be a lot of sex, but there has to be a lot of love. Which brings us to another question that I'm frequently asked. How can you love more than one person? You love your parents, siblings, cousins, and best friends. And do you love only one of your parents, or both your mother and your father? Do you love only one of your siblings, or all three? But when it comes to romance, in this society, we're expected to find the one. If there even is such a thing, what's the mathematical likelihood of them living in the same country, same city, and you meeting them? When a man's wife passes away and he eventually remarries, does this mean he didn't truly love the first wife, or doesn't love the second, or that he loves one more than the other? And if you concede that he loves both equally, if they were both present in his life at the same time, is it wrong to marry both? Another question I'm frequently asked is, are you Mormon? Some people who oppose polygamy refer to the atrocities committed within a Church of the Latter-day Saints sect as proof that polygamy is wrong. Fundamentalist cults, forced marriage, incest, and rape are wrong whether it's in the context of polygamy or monogamy. Monogamy has its roots in Christianity. The Catholic Church puts polygamy in the same category as masturbation, pornography, homosexuality, contraception, and sex before marriage. By these rules, I think we're all going to hell. Polygamy doesn't have to be religious, just as monogamy doesn't. In Australia, it's common for non-religious couples to get married. Which brings us to the question, why hold on to the belief that marriage is between one man and one woman if you don't subscribe to the very faith that that idea comes from? I recently read a comment on an article that made me laugh. Folks, once homosexual marriage has been approved, the cat is out of the bag. The next step is marriage between two men, one woman, a donkey, and a 1957 Chevrolet. Show me a donkey that can sign a marriage certificate. My dad, who's a bit of a knocker, says, let the camps do what makes them happy. And honestly, should we even really care what other consenting adults do? Marriage is a global tradition and it's ingrained in our culture. Marriage is a symbol of love and unity, and everyone should be entitled to that right. Polygamy should be legalized because it already exists, and changed legislation will protect the rights of those who are already in unrecognized polygamous relationships. Another argument I've heard against polygamy is that it's sexist. Just like with the religious argument, sexism has nothing to do with polygamy. Some cultures that practice polygyny may be sexist against women, but that doesn't mean that the practice itself is inherently sexist. Tell me, what's more sexist? A society that accepts adultery and serial monogamy, or one that allows women the freedom to marry who they choose? Polygyny can actually be very beneficial for women for a number of reasons. Firstly, have you ever heard someone say all the good men are married or gay? In a monogamous society, the alpha males get snapped up and the women have to settle for betas and omegas. Secondly, in our current society, most families require double incomes to make ends meet. This means that for many career-driven women, they have to make a choice between raising a family and having a successful career. As a film producer, I work from home a lot, but some days I'm on set before the sun rises. With polygyny, however, I will have a support network which will allow me the freedom to be a producer and a mother. Another interesting point to raise is that of bisexuality. By choosing a monogamous relationship, a bisexual person has to deny part of their desire. It doesn't matter how much you love a man can never be a woman. Bisexual people shouldn't have to betray their sexuality to adhere to society's expectations. We live in a society that allows multiple lovers, but not multiple partners. We have adult stores that sell everything from double-ended foot-long dildos to anal plugs the size of my head. Strip clubs are legal. Prostitution is legal. Swinging is legal. But our society doesn't allow polygamy, consensual, loving, committed polygamy. I know that it's the right option for me, and I know that I'm not alone. And if you feel that way too, not alone either. I read a quote recently that stuck with me. The people I feel sorry for are the ones who don't ever realize they have choices beyond the traditional options society presents. To look at an option and say, that's not for me, is fine. To look at it and not realize you can choose it is just sad.